keep it lightning as much as possible. So,
I have a question.
thank you. I'll take it towards the end. Awesome. So, let's start with the story, right? So, welcome to BS Corp, a B2B restaurant management solution. Oh, wait, that was ETAP, right? They moved to product-led. They don't have any bullshit anymore. So let's talk about a B2B fintech company, and the name is BS Corp. I'm going to introduce you to the main characters of the story. So we have Anne, she's a SVP of sales. We have the cool guy, the Ahmed, who is the head of product. We have Hannah, who is the head of engineering, and Victor, who is the head of design. So these are the four characters. One fine morning, Anne decided to walk to Mr. Ahmed's office and says, Ahmed, I really have something important to talk. We really need to go down. Let's grab a coffee. Now, thinking about all the stupid stuff he has to do for that day, he decides, you know what, let's go down and grab a coffee. What's there to lose? Now, while they go down, grab a coffee and start to take a sip, immediately Anne jumps to the point. She was like, hey, Ahmed, you know what? It was a strategic decision to move into Saudi this year. But unfortunately, it's not been working very well. You know what? We need you to help me build this feature. All right, so Mr. Ahmed is not a dumb product manager, right? So you ask, why? Why do you want me to build this feature? Look, I already told you it's not working for us. You know, we're losing customers there. Okay, could you tell me a little bit more about what was the strategic decision? And Anne responds, yeah, actually, you know what? We sat down together as executives. We decided what market to go into. Saudi was sexy, so we decided to go there. Okay, amazing, fine. Could you tell me how many customers are we losing because of not having this feature? And she says, yeah, 70% of our deals are lost because of not having this feature. Fine. And there were no more questions that Ahmed could ask, and he decides to go back to his office. And he was confused. What now? He decides to call an important meeting with the other stakeholders, in this case, or in this story, Hannah and Victor. And he summarizes the whole situation. And Victor immediately jumped in and said, look man, I really don't know what problems are we solving for this feature. I don't know the user journey of our customers where this problem arises. I don't know the jobs to be done for this feature or whatever it is. And Ahmed comes in and jumps in and says, you know what, I understand, but let's take this as an MVP approach. Let's experiment something and let's aim for some quick wins. I'll do a couple of interviews and come back. The head of engineering then jumps in, Hannah, and says, you know what, even if you come back with something, my team is completely filled with backlog of work for the next 2 months. I can't do it. Ahmed then responds, look, we are an agile team. The whole concept of being agile is to be agile, so we have to reprioritize, and something more important comes into our play. So now what we're gonna do is reprioritize. So after 2 weeks, we're gonna start working on something new. And agreeing to disagree and being left in the total chaos situation, they decided to move forward. Long story short, 1 month later, the feature was released, and excited enough as any product manager would be, Ahmed decided to look at that metric. So when Anne was talking about not having enough, success in the market, she was talking about not winning enough deals. And the metric they were talking about was win rate. And what Ahmed decided to look at was, what was our win rate after I launched this feature? And when he looked at that for that month, it was 11% increase. Now, although there are a lot of bullshits in this story, and I don't have the time to because it's a lightning talk, I would like to keep it short to just 3 types of bullshit. The first one, my favorite one, is the data bullshit. This is where individuals use data to bullshit their way into achieving a certain goal. And now I'm gonna go back to some of the instances in the story. So Ahmed was like, oh, amazing, we did 11% increase in win rate, hooray. And what he did was take a screenshot of that, post it on Slack, everybody's pumped up. Yes, we did an amazing fucking job. And this is a screenshot. Okay, it went from 8% to 19%. Hooray team, amazing job. But I know you guys are all smart enough to figure this out. The question really is like, actually, is this the right data? Is this, something that you can clearly say by just looking at 3 months? Is it important? So you just need to zoom out. If you zoom out, you can see there is a trend like this. Like every 3 months, there is a dip. Now I just want to open it up to you guys. I just want you to think, what could potentially be the reason that there is a dip in every 3 months? And by the way, before I open the floor for that, just a quick definition of win rate. Win rate is total number of deals that you have won divided by total number of deals you have won plus total number of deals lost. So now keeping that in mind, what could be the situation here? Hypothetically speaking, there's a dip every 3 months. Sorry? I couldn't hear.
End of quarter.
End of quarter? Okay. What could end of quarter do?
Cost cutting.
Cost cutting, okay. Sorry, end of cycle?
Sales target.
Sales targets, okay. Interesting.
Seasons.
Seasonality, okay. Cool, so I'll tell you what happened. So this is a real data, by the way. And I decided to speak to my sales head and asked, hey, what is this shit here? Like every 3 months it's going down. And she said, you know what? At the end of every quarter, salespeople have this habit of cleaning up their accounts. So if you look at the values, the denominator, which is the total deals won plus deal lost for the end of the quarter, is always high. So the win rate drops for that particular month. So effectively, if you are really thinking about tracking that as a metric, you should look at it on a quarterly basis or even a longer period of time and see how that trends over that period. So essentially what I have to say here is, yes, we are all smart enough to ask why, and if as product people we don't do that, then that's the basic feedback I have to give you all. We should be smart enough to ask why. But the question really is, or the thing really is, you need to understand the context of that data, and it's extremely critical. So in this example, you need to understand what the context of that data is. So for example, this is why this data comes in, who is responsible for that data, who updates that data. All of this context is extremely critical. And combining those two, which is the power of asking why, to questioning the things around the context, is extremely important, and it will help reduce the bullshit around data to a great extent. So anytime somebody comes up and says this is the number, try to ask why in a way where you're trying to really understand how this data came into play and how this data affects. This was a business metric. You could also have product metrics like engagement metrics, transactions, payments closed, or logins, launches, whatever it might be. In all of these contexts, knowing how that data come into play and really asking that questions to navigate and understand that is extremely important, and that would reduce a lot of bullshit, at least for you to digest them or push back on them to a great extent. The second type of bullshit that I usually get from top is the strategy bullshit. So this is where individuals persuade you to do something by using the term strategy. In this example, Anne said it was a strategic decision to move into Saudi. In as much as we are all victims of that, one way I think that I have been able to at least bring it down a lot is by defining a unified definition of strategy. What do I mean by that? This is a book that our company adapts that talks about how to define a strategy, playing to win. And what it talks about is the key elements that constitutes making a good strategy. In no way I'm telling this is the book and this is a strategy. It really depends on your nature of business or whatever. But for our company, we believe this might work the best. What I'm trying to say is, this is what strategy means for our business. So anytime somebody comes and says, hey, this is our strategy or this is our strategy decision, what I try to do essentially is question the elements of that strategy. So for example, if someone comes and tells me this is our strategy to move into this market, I would ask, okay, can you tell me what's the winning aspiration behind moving into this market or this strategy? My favorite question is, could you tell me what are some of the riskiest assumptions that you have made or validated in any of these four elements? Which is where you're gonna play, how will we win, etc. And now that helps me do two things. One, genuinely I try to understand these different elements that helps me, better make decisions moving forward because I understand why that strategy came into place. And second thing, if somebody is using the term strategy without doing their homework, go back and figure the shit out and come back before you use the term strategy. And in all honesty, I told you, this is something that usually comes from the top, right? Like the execs or anybody coming and saying it's a strategy. So to be honest, it's really still difficult to navigate through this strategy bullshit because sometimes, we talked about Hippo, you at times have to adhere to just going down the road that they say. But at least this will channel and reduce the time of such situations happening to a lot in terms of pushing back on them, or at least them doing their homework most of the time. And the last is the favorite one as well, the MVP bullshit. This is where individuals intentionally confuses you with the term MVP as a means to deliver a feature faster. I know a lot of you started smiling because I know you all have done this shit. So unfortunately, people either don't understand what MVP means, and that's completely fine because if I asked you what does MVP mean for you, you all have different answers as well. So I'm just gonna tell you. So sometimes people use it by saying MVP, that they make it so vague that it can't be wrong because it's fucking vague, right? And sometimes you also get frustrated like this dude here, like, every time you say, hey, build an MVP, I'm like, say one more time, I'm building an MVP. Like, don't ever come back and say this shit again anymore. So for me, what does an MVP mean? Like, for me, MVP is not to validate a problem and an opportunity. And unfortunately, whenever someone wants to build something, they don't care about problems or what opportunities are there. They just want to do something very quickly. And they say build this, so they build this in a very short, quick way so that we can validate if it works or not. But unfortunately, I personally don't think that is the case. Your problem validation or your opportunity validation has to happen first. MVPs are a means for you to validate whether your approach or whatever you're going to offer to the client provides value for the validated opportunity or problem. So what I try to do essentially is, okay, tell me what problem are you trying to solve for with this MVP? Just try to really question the problems here. Someone comes and tells me, hey man, Safwan, this is a big feature, air ticket request or whatever, it's completely really important. Okay, tell me what problems are we trying to solve for our customers? I don't know, man, like these 10 of different products are having that and they're comparing us to them. They have it, so build it. And we're losing the deals. But really it is about understanding what problems are solved for and try to push back on that. And you will get to a situation where they don't understand them or they realize that it's not a problem or a pain point that customers actually face. They're just comparing our product to something else and it's not something we need to build. So really challenging that problems and opportunities presented. And the last piece, and we talked about it, I think Joseph also really talked about it well, is documenting your failures. Why is this important? Now, most of the time when this situation comes up, it comes from someone else, like, hey man, build this MVP. Really make it a point to document the impact of it, outcome, even if it's shitty, like even if, nobody used it, you spend $100,000 in cost building that, just document them. Why? The next time someone comes and tells you build an MVP, show it to their face. And tell them that, hey, this is what we have done before. You are trying to tell me to do something exactly like you said before, and here are the reasons why we lost it, or we didn't actually win. So this documentation really helps in terms of portraying why you shouldn't be doing the same mistake over. So I started with the story, and I'm going to end with another one. So last weekend, me and my wife, we took our daughter out. She's 6 months old.
That's your daughter?
That's not my daughter. She's more cuter than that. But anyhow, kids, right? I shouldn't compare. Anyhow, so we were sitting and we were just, having our meal, and we just started introducing solids to her. And then she was just, showing me like how the baby is eating, and I noticed that she's spitting a lot. Then we had this interesting conversation, and she was saying, did you know that babies, they first learn how to spit, not to swallow the food? And I asked her why. She was like, yeah, babies, when they take in the food, they should not swallow the food and get it stuck and get choked. So the first thing they try to develop are the muscles that will help them to spit the food out. And I was really thinking, I'm gonna talk about bullshit, this week. And I was thinking, sometimes as human beings, we try to take in everything and try to process in our mind, and we try to hone our skills that really helps us, take in things and make them effective. But most of the times, we don't hone the skills that allows us to filter things out. Or in this example, how to spit out the bullshit that's coming from different sources. So with that, thank you. That's me. If you're wondering where my beautiful hair is, no, I was not in jail. I just, cut my hair. So, thank you.
Questions? Gareth, we haven't had any questions from you.
No, that was great. And I just want to say, anyone who kind of takes like a satirical negative stance on their industry is always a legend. So, round of applause. I thought that was excellent. That's all I've got to add.
Rick, question?
No questions. Your hairdresser or?
I'll give you the contacts.
You look better with the skinhead. You look better.
Oh, thank you.
Great, a real question.
A real question. What was BS Corp's OKRs? Were there OKRs? Why didn't we hold people accountable to OKRs?
Okay, a really good question. BS Corp is a hypothetical company, so I didn't make an OKRs for that. But I think to your point, every time someone comes and tells you do this, do that, try to hold them accountable to the OKRs. Honestly, even in OKRs, you can make this bullshit up, right? So the data bullshit. Honestly, in most of the OKRs that I've seen is they come up with some metrics. I'm not going to name the company, but one of the company's OKRs when I saw was what you said, deploy this feature by X date. That was their objective, and the key results were get designs done by X date, get testing done by Y date. So that was the OKRs. So what I'm trying to get to essentially is, yes, even if you have OKRs, sometimes it's not the OKRs. It's just a framework out there just to serve the bullshitting needs. So it's really questioning in that case, why are we doing this? So on and so forth. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Pete.
I love this sort of vibe, this persona, but when you're dealing with your senior leadership team or the owners or the board or whatever it is, do you say it as it is like this, or?
Great question.
Great question. I think so. Let's assume this example where, let's say, the CEO comes in and says, "Hey, man, we have decided it's a strategy to go here," right? I won't say out this up, bluntly, although I'm close to him, but I would ask or challenge these things to him. Hey, man, first of all, I wasn't involved in this, so I really want to understand how did you come up with this strategy? And by the way, you are a fan of this book, right? So can you tell me what the framework was? Winning aspirations, where we will play, how we will win, what management systems we have in place, etc. The data bullshit is what I really, really challenge most of the time, honestly. Like salespeople coming and saying, guys, we lost 30% of the deals last year for not having this feature. That's what I really, really try to dig in deeper. Can you tell me 30% of what? Can you tell me the context? Who filled it in? Okay, can you share the video calls with me? Can I listen to those calls and see if that actually is the case? So I really try to dig in deeper. So what I'm trying to essentially build here is a mindset in people that they cannot come and randomly throw in numbers at me and say, you need to do this. It's about quality, and also for you as a person, understanding the context of all of those things and challenging them. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I think more people need to be like you, mate.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
I'll ask one question.
Sure.
Safwan and I are childhood friends, best friends, but we never spoke on a product level, because I'm not from the product, I'm from the food tech industry, but not into the product side. But I would take this opportunity to ask you something. Do you think, in this market, or probably let's compare it to the Dubai market, not even UAE,
Okay.
Do we not focus much on the problems before providing a solution? You just talk about how MVP is a bullshit strategy.
Yeah.
So do you think that we are not focusing much on the problem side? You're just having one problem and everybody's expecting one solution for it. Because if you look into the market, there's a lot of solutions,
Okay.
but if there's a lot of problems underlying to the same solution.
Okay.
You know, so is it that we are not focusing too much on the problems and everybody's focused on the solution? That's why we are having these issues.
Okay. So first thing, I don't think MVP is a bullshit. I think people use the term MVP to bullshit you to doing certain things. So that's one thing I want to make clear. To answer your question, I think sometimes people don't realize what they really need, right? So if I'm a customer and I want to buy a solution, what I essentially do, and it's humane, just look at all the feature sets I have, compare it to the different competitors, and then make a decision. Salespeople are on the meeting, they say, oh, we don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that our competitors have, but we have 1, 2, and 3, but that's not enough. So essentially, what we need to do is really try to understand why the customer needs it and try to make them realize whether it's actually something that they really need. One of the things I have tried to do essentially is, Joseph, you talked about, feature flagging as well, right? One of the things we're trying to do is somebody comes up with crazy requests, right? We ask them, okay, we'll do it for you, but you have to pay X dollars in money. Would you be trying to do that? So the concept of actually triggering them to basically say, okay, I'm now about to pay something. It is really painful for me. Might actually also make them realize whether it's something they need a solution for or not. Yeah. So this is what I try to do essentially, or I try to push the salespeople to think.
If they'll pay
Nice.
for it, then it's valuable.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, if they're paying for it, me and my team's salary for the next 3 months are sorted, So I think about it from that perspective and make it as flexible as possible so you could reap the benefit from others. Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome.